A man can have 5 kids with 5 women and never be called the problem. But a woman has 1 kid with the wrong man. Suddenly she makes bad choices.
All right, so you guys hear this guy. He is a typical simp jutsu master. This man is offering up the typical female argument. He's saying that, one guy can go out there and have a bunch of babies and it's not an issue. But if a woman goes out there and has a bunch of babies, then it is an issue. Now, here's the deal. We all know why. We all know the answer to this question, but this guy's hopping on the internet to act stupid and to try to get his bag by grifting in the female positive space. So that's all this really is. It's nothing new. We've seen it before. But for those who ride the short bus and they don't understand why this is, it's very simple. There is a supreme difference between a man who owns 3 different cars and drives them as he sees fit because he can take care of them all, and a car that has 3, 4, or 5 different owners who don't care about said car and drive it however, right? No one goes to buy a rental car because everybody who drives a rental car, they just treat it like trash. But you'll go and you'll buy a car that's been gently used by one owner, or, like you have the Carfax history and somebody has taken really good care of it or something like that. This is a basic argument. And I'm really sick of people trying to use this argument like they don't know. Whether it's a man or it's a woman, whoever is using these kinds of arguments, they already know that a woman's value depletes rapidly after every man she's been with. Now, I don't want to make this necessarily about dating, but you guys want to date, you guys want to get married, and you have to understand there are a lot of women who have this mindset, and there's even more men who have that mindset, mostly because they want to get with that woman or they want to appeal to women. So they think that talking like this means something. It doesn't. But if you're going to go out there and you're going to date, this is why I always tell you to put the money first. If you don't have plenty of money, think about what happens when you get into a relationship with one of these women who's been passed around, had multiple different owners. She's going to cause you nothing but headache because this woman is looking to cash out. So she's only going to see you as a paycheck. She's only going to see you as a financial means of gain. She's going to see you as her meal ticket. And this is why I say, when you start focusing on the money and you start doing all the things necessary to get that money to level up, right? To go from 45,000 to 55, from 55 to 60 and 70. When you see how much work is necessary to do that, you should, I'm not saying you will, but you certainly should have a better mindset to how you approach women, because it's not like you're going to do some formulaic thing, hit the next level, go from 45 to 55, 55 to 65. You got to do a lot. You got to put in a lot of work, and that work should directly translate to how you see yourself. You should see yourself as more valuable. You should see your time and effort as more valuable, and you should see how much of a waste it is to be with a woman who's been with multiple different men. Now, I'm not going to tell you that dating a virgin is going to save you, but I'm certainly going to say when you get with a woman who's been with multiple men, you already know she comes with a ton of problems. So this is all run-of-the-mill red pill talking points. We all know this. It's nothing new.
The reason why I knew I needed to get a divorce was because I have a crystal clear memory of me having with my husband and thinking about this other guy, and me knowing in that moment I have to divorce him, because if I don't get out of this marriage, I'm going to cheat on him. I'm going to try to find this. And I know that's really up, but I didn't want to be a cheater. No,
it's not. That's happened to me too.
Okay, so you guys can now see why I'm putting so much emphasis on making money rather than dating. I want you to think about what this woman said. She says she was being intimate with her husband, who she decided to marry. She dated this guy for some period of time, and he proposed, and she said yes. So she dated this guy, she married this guy. At some point in time, they're getting it on as married people do, and she's thinking about some other guy. And whatever she's thinking about this other guy, whoever this other guy is in comparison to her husband, this guy, I guess, is so great that while her husband is inside of her, she decides that she's going to think about this guy. Now, rather than simply squashing that rogue thought, that intrusive thought, rather than looking at her husband and saying, man, I really married a great guy. I'm so thankful for everything my husband does for me. Rather than working on herself or trying to come closer with her husband, she decides, I'm going to divorce my husband and go after this guy that I'm thinking about. Otherwise, I'll end up cheating. Now, I can tell you right here and now, she doesn't care one bit about her husband. She simply cares about being able to be free to go after the guy that she wants without people's judgment. Now, I want to ask you guys, in this economy, in this society, with food and gas prices the way they are, housing prices the way they are, do you guys really want to date when you know that there's a possibility that you can end up with a woman who will simply leave you because of an intrusive thought that she can't shake? This woman has no accountability. She has no responsibility to you. She has no accountability to herself. There's no one in her life or your life that is holding this person accountable to the sanctity of your marriage. You see what the other girl says. She says, oh, no, it's okay. I've done that too. So they're doing the co-rumination thing that you saw in one of my previous videos. They are both making bad decisions, or they have both made a bad decision, and they are comforting each other behind the stupidity of said bad decision. But you guys want to go out here and you want to date, and you think that I'm going to get a girl with a low body count. Okay, well, what happens when the girl with a low body count has been with some guy who's bigger and better than you, and that's the guy that she's thinking of, and you are knee deep in this relationship, or even you've married this person and now she's thinking about this other person and she ditches you? What is holding this woman accountable? What is there to ensure that this woman, is going to put forth some meaningful effort to shake that thought? I'm not saying men don't do this, but it doesn't really matter. It only matters that the biggest investment in a marriage is always going to come from the man. Imagine how much money this man spent on the wedding, on dating this woman, on getting her an engagement ring, the wedding, the housing, everything like that. And she just leaves because of a thought. This is why I'm going to tell you guys, put the money first, because at least if you're a high earner, that woman is more likely to check herself before she wrecks herself. Even though we see high value men get wrecked all the time. It is what it is.
Women are out-earning men for the first time in history. That's according to a new report called The Lost Boys, which essentially says that young women, so we're talking ages 16 to 24, are now consistently out-earning young men of the same age. And I don't think we can underestimate how significant this report might be. Now look, before we go into the numbers, it's worth saying this does not mean we've solved sexism in the workplace, right? There's still plenty of ways with which women are discriminated at work. However, it does feed into the narrative of how much young men seem to be struggling in society at the moment, and how important it is that we recognize that. So if we look into the numbers, in 2020-2021, young men were earning just over 24,000 on average, and young women were actually lagging behind around 23,000. However, since then, we've seen young men's salaries stay flat, still on average earning around 24,000, but young women massively leaped that to over 26,500. We're seeing similar in the unemployment rates, with young women unemployment rate of 3.8%, but young men up at 7.1%. And it's just really important that we recognize that this is a group in society who are really starting to struggle, and it's so important that they do get the support that they need. So like I said, I think this is a really significant report, one that we shouldn't take lightly, because it does feed into the narrative of what we're basically seeing in regards to politics, education, engagement, family value, whatever it might be. We are seeing this group in society seem to be struggling, and that certainly seems to be applying to working life as well.
Okay, so we got a guy over here talking about how men are suffering and we need to do something to fix it. And, he's asking, how do we help men? Here's the problem. The man starts off this content piece by saying women are out earning men. And, from 16 to 24, they're out earning men by a not insignificant amount. And then he makes sure that he mentions the fact that we have not solved sexism in the workplace. Here's my problem. You are doing a content piece that is supposed to highlight the fact that men are falling behind economically. And in the middle of that, or realistically at the beginning of that, you decide to open your mouth and mention the fact that, oh, by the way, women are still being oppressed. Women are still suffering, and they're suffering specifically because of men. But, just so you know, right? And then he goes on to talk about how men are suffering. This is the reason why we're never going to solve the male crisis. We're never going to solve the suffering, because everybody who makes content, and I'm going to assume he might have like an agency. He might be signed to a bigger content agency. Somebody might have wrote the script for him. When we start talking about men suffering in a commercial manner, we always talk about it from a zero-sum mindset. That is, if we talk about men suffering, then we are somehow hampering the fight for women suffering, right? If we give men $1, we gave that dollar to men at the expense of women. If we give men 5 minutes of attention on the internet, that's 5 minutes of attention that we somehow took away from women. There is no independence when it comes to the suffering of men. We always have to mention it in conjunction with women. And that's mostly because we only care about men in conjunction with society, in conjunction with women or children or something else. We don't care about men as people. We only care about them in terms of what they can be doing for us. So that's why they do this. And this is why we're never going to solve the problem. How are you going to sit up here and say that we haven't solved sexism in the workplace when at the same time you're telling us in the workplace, women are winning financially? They're making more money. So they're either coming in better with more authority, working longer hours, working better jobs. Where exactly is the sexism? Wouldn't the sexism be in the workplace that the men are failing in or failing to even get into? Nope. This is why I tell you guys, focus on yourself. Make sure you're doing something to get more money, because the world does not care about you. Mainstream media is never going to fairly represent you. They will dance around the issue until you die. They do not care, right? You're never going to get the same exposure that women have gotten. Like, you have the feminism movement. There's never going to be, like, the red pill is never going to go mainstream. And if it does, it's going to be heavily, heavily watered down to include women and children and society and stuff like that, to the point where it's not even going to be a meaningful movement that helps men. You guys have to understand, you are on your own, and these people do not care if you fail. They probably want you to fail. It's probably better on their end if you do fail.
This lady is Valicia Adams Kellum. She's the CEO of the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, in charge of managing over $800 million annually in federal, state, county, and city funds towards homeless shelters. It's a big responsibility, so they pay her a monster salary, $430,000 a year. And what's she been up to? Valicia has just been exposed for funneling millions of dollars worth of contracts to her husband. Quote, documents show that Valicia Adams Kellum, chief executive of the LA Homeless Services Authority, signed a $2.1 million contract and 2 other contract amendments with Upward Bound House, the Santa Monica-based nonprofit where her husband, Edward Kellum, works in senior leadership. And here he is, Director of Operations and Compliance. Compliance. The irony is not lost on me. And for context, $2.1 million is about a quarter of Upward Bound House's total funding. So I would say Valicia's generosity is quite critical for this organization. Except that organization may not be what it seems. Haley Maria Van Nuys wrote that, personally, she feels sorry for all the new homeless families coming into this program thinking they're going to get help when they're not. That place isn't there for helping people. It's a sad money trench with a homeless face to back it up. Don't donate and stay as far away as possible. Not shocking. For journalistic integrity, I must say that Adams Kellum has denied wrongdoing. A LASA spokesperson told LAist that the contracts had inadvertently ended up in front of Adams Kellum to sign. Except, she's done it 3 separate times, so not shady at all. The agency also said that they have pledged additional staff training to prevent future incidents. Such a joke.
All right, so you guys can see this not so shocking report on the LA homeless situation. Homelessness out here in Southern California is it's running wild like Hulkamania. It's at an all-time high, and it's only getting worse. Like, there's never been a point in time when it's gone up, then gone down by any significant margin. It's only going up. Now, here's the deal. I'm always telling you guys, or I've recently started telling you guys, start putting yourself first, start focusing on money, Stop focusing on dating. Stop focusing on women. And this is one of the big reasons why. I want you to think about this. This woman is clearly embezzling all this money, and no real steps or measures are being implemented to stop her or bring her to justice or anything like that. Homelessness out here is big, big business. All right. You guys have to understand there's lots of NGOs. There's lots of celebrities out here. There's lots of money flowing into the homelessness projects so that people can, essentially it's basically a big tax haven. Like people put tens of millions of dollars in there, billions of dollars into homelessness and combating homelessness out here. And essentially people just dip their hand in the money and take what they want. But, it's a way for people to essentially dodge taxes and things like that. That's how all the rich people get around paying their taxes out here in SoCal. Now, I want you guys to understand something. First and foremost, the money ain't even going where it's supposed to go. So if you are a man and you end up homeless, you are screwed. You are absolutely out of the game. You're finished. There is no second chance for you. However, let's assume that the money was going where it was supposed to go and that homeless shelters were being built and yada, yada, yada. Do you think that they would allow men into those homeless shelters? Or do you think they would be like women and kids only? It would 100% be women and kids only. Most of these NGOs are super liberal, if not like flat out, feminist NGOs. They don't like men. They don't want men in the homeless shelters. They don't want to help men. They would rather see men fall and, suffer and die. It just looks better for women to do, better and for women to have more resources to bounce back. It looks way better when women are doing great in society and men are doing poor. That way the feminists can, laugh and cheer. So even if the money was going where it was meant to go, if you fall on hard times, there's still no hope for you because society hates your guts. They hate the fact that you exist as a man. I'm not trying to make you hate society. I'm not trying to, rage bait you or anything like that. I'm just trying to motivate you to get up, get after the bag, leave the girls alone, leave the dreams of marriage and family alone, get your money up, right? There's always going to be help for women and kids. There's always going to be help for them. It's not always going to be help for you. You got to put yourself first. You got to put that money first.
If you have nothing invested by the age of 50, it's too late. Anyone who says that it's not too late is not helping you. They will not be able to help you. There's a fake feel-good post going around social media today. It goes something like this. Quote, Warren Buffett made 99% of his wealth after the age of 50. It's never too late. I mean, it sounds good, it's catchy, it makes you warm and fuzzy, but it's totally gaslighting you. The fact is, Warren Buffett, at the age of 50, had an inflation-adjusted $1.5 billion. 1.5 billion. Other people are going to lie to you, but I won't lie to you. If you have nothing invested by the age of 50, it's too late. Quote, confession time. I'm almost 49 and I have zero retirement savings. No exaggeration, absolutely nothing. Maybe about $900 in my checking account. No idea what the F I'm going to do, and I know I can't be the only one. Yeah, this is too late. Anyone who says that it's not too late is not helping you. They will not be able to help you. Unless your name is Martha Stewart or Colonel Sanders, but I don't think it is. You had 30 years to do something and you did nothing. So, time's gone. You should hope for the best. Never lose hope. I would never suggest that. But you should expect to work until you die. Learn the lessons about money that your friends and family can't teach you. Download my free newsletter linked off the bio. Good luck. Take care.
All right. So, this is essentially more fuel to the fire from the last thing we were talking about. I want you to think about what this guy is saying. He's saying if you have nothing invested by the age of 50, it's too late. You're going to work till you die. Okay. I want you guys to think about something. Do you think 50 is just the point of no return? Like, do you think if you had 100K to invest at 49, you could invest it at 49 and then all of a sudden you wouldn't have to work till you die? No. You have to understand 50 is just a hard line. There's just absolutely no way to bounce back if you have nothing invested by 50. That's just the hard line, point of no return. Like that's it, right? It's mathematically impossible. That's all the number 50 represents. It represents a mathematic impossibility of you retiring if you have nothing invested. Now, realistically, if you have nothing invested by 40, you're cooked. because investments take time. It's not like you're going to invest $1,000 one day and then the stock is just going to take off to the moon and now you're set for life. That's not really how it works. You have to have a diverse stock portfolio. You have to have your stocks distributed amongst assets that have a steady growth rate, right? We see what AI is doing. We see what technology is doing. There's a lot of industries that are shutting down, that are dying, that aren't going to be here in 3 to 5 years. So when we start talking about money, you have to understand 50 it might be a long way off for you depending on who you are, but that's just the point of no return. You really need to have, a good sizable amount invested before that. You need to have tens of thousands of dollars invested 10 years out. 10 years out from 50, like at 40, you really need to have $100K already invested in the stocks so that they can grow to a couple million, hopefully, adjusting for inflation and all that. But beyond that, this is why I tell you, stop chasing the women, stop chasing the family. If you don't already have it, stop chasing it, because that woman that you're chasing, she can cash out with a rich loser. She can cash out with a rich guy who did it the right way and put his money in stocks and stuff like that, right? She's going to ruin his life, true indeed, but she still gets to cash out. You don't get to cash out with some rich sugar mama. That's not what's going to happen for you. You're going to end up homeless, right? So stop chasing these women. They will be fine. When you get yourself financially situated to where everything is good, or at least everything is on that steady upswing, that's when you can maybe start talking about dating and whatnot. You have to understand, women will be all right. You will not.
I mean, some of you wanted older men as well. We didn't judge you for that. We just said, cool, is what it is.
You know why? The reason you don't judge them for wanting older men is because men are more like an asset appreciating in time. Mm-hmm. Women are more like a liability that depreciates rapidly with time. And subconsciously, you're all bothered by the fact that, as you age, your value is declining. So you have to create a psychological superstructure that makes guys feel guilty about wanting younger women, because we can sit back and pursue younger women infinitely. And so you have to make them feel guilty so that they behave and they consider you, like when you end up like her. Finish her. So when you end up 30 years old like her with 2 divorces, you still want to be appealing to guys like me.
Fatality. All right. So you guys heard what this guy had to say. That was the saint in the center. His name is Marquette Devon or something like that. I know his name is Marquette, but he goes by the saint in the center. That's the name of his podcast. And he's 100% right. He's talking about the fact that when women get older, they shame men for wanting younger women, even though when those women were younger, they themselves were going for older men who had the money, because the young guys don't have the money. And he is 100% right. This is just psychological games that these women are playing. They're doing mental gymnastics, and it's mostly tailored toward ensuring men do not leave them behind. They want to make sure that there are men there to catch them when they fall, when they're ready to check out of the game. They want to make sure that there are a bunch of men in the friend zone and a bunch of, orbiters and simps that are going to take care of them. We've all seen this. We've all heard the arguments 1,000 times. This is just another example of it. And I can tell you right now, as a man who's in his 40s, who makes decent money, when I start, looking at women, I don't look at women in their 40s. I don't look at women 35 and up. I don't look at women really in their 30s. And people they'll take exception to that. They will get mad. But at the end of the day, we have to really be realistic. From 15, when most people try to start dating, most women can start dating at around 15. Most boys can't start dating until, you got the guys who are in high school and they're winning, right? But most boys can't consistently date with any kind of leverage or options until they're in their mid to late 20s. Girls can start dating at 15 and they can start winning at 15. So what women want is a world where they can win from 15 to like 40 and they can cash out at any time in between. And realistically, men can't win until whatever age they start winning. Women want to win on the front end, they want to win on the back end, and they want to win in the middle. They don't have any concept that the game has to be played by rules. Men understand, I got to build my worth early on, or at least when I'm in my young 20s, when I'm 21 to 25, I'm not going to be able to compete with the guy who's in 35 to 40. I can't compete with that guy. but we're going to be dating the same age women. So when I'm in my 30s or I'm in my 40s and now I'm looking at the younger women, guess what? That's an option for me. And women don't like that. And this is one of the best reasons why I tell you, stay focused on the bag, stay focused on the money, stay focused on your mission and your purpose. You will find you will find that you never lose a woman when you're chasing your purpose. When you are out there racking up victories, you're racking up dubs, you will see women are watching you. They're not watching the men who are chasing after them. They're watching the men that they can't get because that man is too focused on his purpose, right? So just stay focused on your purpose, stay focused on the vision, make your money because the world is collapsing and you're going to need your career, you're going to need your money in the bank, you're going to need to have as much leverage as you can. And once the world runs off the tracks, you're probably going to find that having a woman by your side is more of a liability than anything else.
How old are you?
I am 31.
Are you single?
I have a situationship.
So why haven't you just asked him to be yours?
I have a mental health problem and I just don't really think I'm good for anybody.
Well, why do you feel like that about yourself?
Because I've had many episodes and I didn't used to be a good person.
Why do you say that?
My mental health was really bad and I would just take it out on every guy I dated. They didn't do anything wrong, it was just me. But
how long was your last relationship?
2 years.
Did you break up with him or did he break up with you?
He broke up with me.
Why do you think he left you?
Because he couldn't handle me being unstable all the time. Like I told you, I'm on meds.
What did that look like day to day?
Sometimes I would have random mood swings and I would take it out on him. Or sometimes I would change my mind on things sporadically and that kind of just made him pushed away. He was actually a really good person. If he's watching this, you're a good person. It was me. I wouldn't even date me, honestly. I have a lot of things I need to work on.
Okay, people, here's the deal. I want you guys to first and foremost understand that this woman doesn't, I don't want to talk too harshly about this woman. We don't want to come down too hard on this woman. She is taking the requisite steps to fix herself. She is admitting that she has had issues in the past. She is admitting that she was a bad person. She's taking a lot of accountability. She did not crap on her boyfriend. She took time to even clear his name and clear his character. This woman is actually doing the very admirable thing. So I want to give her a big shout out and just, say we need to give her a lot of credit. And women like this who will take accountability, give them a lot of credit. Now, I will say the only reason that she's doing this is because, like she said, she's in therapy and she's on psychiatric medications. She's had mental breakdowns and bipolar and this and that. So all of that medicine that she's hopped up on is probably the reason why she's able to remain cool, calm, and collected and take, accountability for her actions. But that's neither here nor there. The important thing is she's getting the help she needs and she's taking accountability. That's the first and most important step to recovery and living a positive life. Now, that being said, if you guys ever meet a woman like this, I need you guys to fight that masculine/beta urge to save her. Never save a woman like this. You're going to see her and you're going to be like, oh man, she's had a hard life and I can save her. You're going to try and save this woman and you're going to get yourself in a world full of hurt because what'll happen is a man will see this woman, she'll tell her sad story, and that man will not have access to better women. So he's gonna key in on this and he's gonna try to save her. He's gonna say, oh no, you're a great person, this and that. Let me get your number. Let's go out. I think you're awesome. Da 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 da. Men are often catfish in the dating market. A lot of times men who can't compete, they'll turn into catfish and they'll just take whatever scraps they can get. And this woman will end up being one of the scraps that you get. And you think that she's not going to be a nutcase. And as soon as y'all start getting intimate, that's when all of the medication wears off and she turns into a psycho again. And now you have to deal with that time bomb that you activated. So when you see crazy women, whether they're, being full on crazy, don't think that they're hot. If you see a crazy woman and she's trying to recover and get her life back on track, do not interrupt that process. Let her fix herself. And then when she's fixed, avoid her still because crazy doesn't go away.